But the government looks after the money for our so-called benefits. Okay? So when you invoke that, when you don't give them that authority and you take on that authority for yourself and you start to manage those affairs, then you start to move in these ways where on the private side, if you've got a private car, you're not making any money from it. You can have your car, it's not registered to DVLA, it's registered to whatever plate you want. And when you move with honour, if someone hit you or you hit someone, that is more to do with an act of God. If you wasn't driving around recklessly, that person was meant to get in an accident anyway. Yeah? And the insurance doesn't cover for acts of God anyway. Yeah? Is there anything else? Any questions?
I was going to question it actually. I was going to say well done for the amount of information that you've given to everyone here, and I know everyone in the room is at a different level of realisation.
Okay, thank you very much.
So you may watch the film back in a couple of months' time and then go, that's what he meant. So I do encourage you to do that. If you haven't understood everything that you've heard today, because I know I've been on a hell of a journey myself for the last, well, however many years. It can be a very steep learning curve, but don't pick battles before you're ready, and then always ask for help as well. But stay calm. Remember, they're all human beings, the same as you. Like that Peter of England just showed you on that video. He spoke very calmly, very politely. There's no need for the angry freemen of. They're starting to disperse the angry freemen, and many of the angry freemen, I believe, were put there anyway by the system to infiltrate the movement of rebellion.
That's right.
Because that's why they wanted it,
Very much so. And remember that man is inherently free. You don't need to call yourself a free man.
No.
As a man, you're free anyway.
Yeah, that's it. They couldn't have taken, like you say, you couldn't have taken any of your rights away.
Yeah, that's right.
It's only you that can say that.
Yeah.
You have everything. I don't know if anyone knows the word unalienable. Actually comes from the French word lien, which means to link or bind. A lien is to link and bind. If it's unlinkable or unbindable, like provision 187 of the Social Security Act, which states they can't take anything away from a state benefit. Anything.
Yeah.
No court.
But they always rely on your ignorance.
Yes.
And as long as you consent into it, then they haven't forced you. No one knocked on your door with a pen and said, please send back this self-assessment form.
Yeah.
There's never anyone there forcing you to do anything. It's your own belief and your own belief in the obligation that causes you to do these things.
Yeah.
And therefore, from the private perspective, on the private side, the scuba suit is limited liability, and the private side is unlimited liability. In unlimited liability, everything is your fault. You're responsible for everything. Okay? So if you do something and you cause harm, you need to rectify it, and you need to know how to rectify it. And if you're driving around recklessly, or whatever the case may be, then you don't deserve to be there. As far as rights are concerned, you can't defend them if you don't know what they are. So you need to learn what they are first, and you need to change your mindset from the indoctrination that you've already had. Because what I'm telling you is very simple things, but they sound alien to you because it's not what you're used to. And you have to unlearn all of these things. This system is very, very clever. Very clever.
What's with the card then? How does that fit in?
So the card, there's a disclaimer on the back of the card which is basically saying you're under no obligation to even hand over a fictional name. So if you're unfamiliar with knowing what your rights are and you're just used to juggling them at the moment and getting used to what they are, then the basic concept is that you're not handing over jurisdiction to the police officer or whatever it is. So you put on that card the name which you want to be known by. Some people call you dad, some people call you son, some people call you uncle, some people call you other things as well. Yeah? But it's up to you what you want to be called, because you're not a name anyway. But as soon as you turn over the name that they've produced for you, and if you look on your birth certificate, the given names, because my parents gave me Colin Michael, they were given to me. Now, I know what my rights are. If the government used Colin Michael, I never gave them permission to use it. So they're liable for that as well. That's my private property. But if you look on your birth certificate, the last name is always spelled in capital letters on the last name, because your parents didn't give you that last name. They inherited the last name. You inherited the last name. You don't even know where the last name came from. It's got nothing to do with you. And if you research the history of names, which I suggest that you do, then you might be a bit more enlightened on that respect as well. So just remember that you're not a name, and because this authority wants your name so badly, why do they want it so badly? Well, now you know why. And you're committing joinder by giving it to them. So, you know, if you believe that you're obligated to even answer their questions if you haven't committed a crime, then there's nothing I can really say. But if they want to, do you know that you were doing 35? And well, what are you saying? What's the problem? Has a crime been? What's the nature of your inquiry? If it's an offence, it's some form of tax or indirect tax. We talked about the GDP earlier on. The legal justice system is 1/3 of this country's GDP. People inherently do not commit crimes. They're not evil at all. But because you don't commit crimes, you're not going to make any money. So they've come up with this legalese system so you can commit offences and then make you believe that you've done something wrong when you've committed an offence. Even though in legalese you won't ever see the word wrong. If you went into court and said, is there a man or woman here claiming that I've done wrong? It's never going to happen. Wrong, isn't it? Wrong is a common law word. So when a public servant has done something outside of their authority, you can use statute to hold them to account because they've wronged you. Yeah? So, yeah.
For example, imagine if you just refused to give a name or whatever to a police officer. I think they actually threatened to take it to the station. So at that point, if they actually take it to the station, they're already having a French name.
Well, like I say, I mean, to me, time is the most important commodity. It always will be.
Yeah.
So if they're asking for you to produce ID, then produce ID. It doesn't say produce government ID, does it? And when you produce the ID and they've been warned at the side of the pavements that you don't wish to contract and they're liable for that, then anything that police officer does from then on is liable for personally. Forget about the costume, as Peter's displayed.
You don't have to give them anything, by the way.
No,
My son had this a few weeks ago at Morrison's in Coventry. I'll tell you the whole story, or I might do in a bit. But he said to the police officer, he said, do I have to give you my name? And he said, yes. And then he says, my son said the first thing he said was, I think you're lying. He says, I tell you what, go and phone your boss and find out if you're lying. You know, the boss of the corporation that you work for? Because I don't work for a corporation, I work for the state. He says, no, the state's a corporation, so you better check that out as well. But then he went away and came back, and then he actually went away. But you're right, you know, it's there in plain sight. The answers are in plain sight. I mean, Lord Denning said, you know, that's it. My rights, you know, my rights end where yours begin.
That's right.
If you stick to that the whole time,
their whole illusion just falls apart.
Yeah, exactly.
And when you remember that fiction cannot make a claim, if one of those markers. 2 minutes. I'll just make this point and then because it's quite important. Okay. You might get HMRC, and then it will go Department of whatever the department is, and then there'll be a robo signature here. Most of the documentation, no one's actually signed it. It's a computer-generated signature. So what normally happens then is you ignore that, and you ignore the next one, and you ignore the next one. Sooner or later, someone pushes their head up, and they go, you know, the usual, you must do whatever, yeah, slave. And then there's a wet ink signature. There's a name on there, I don't know, A Barton or Bean or Bacon or whatever, right? And then she signed her name. So, in correspondence back to that name, if you write Greetings, John.
I've just done this for parking. I've got a parking job writing back saying, and you claim I owe 70 quid. That's all I put. It's not right.
Only a man can make a claim, remember? Oh, sorry. Yeah. Only a man can make a claim. So, even if this John, who signed his signature, has wrote to you in his official capacity, head of blah blah blah, the fact that he's signed his signature to it, and you've got a name to go for, you just ask, are you making a claim that I, a man, owe 70 quid or whatever the case may be? That correspondence finishes there and then. You won't hear from them again. Because they know that the man is totally liable. And if you do hear from them, it'll be, I wrote to you in my capacity as blah, blah, blah. But you can, develop this a bit to say that, any further correspondence from you will constitute blah, 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 this fee or whatever the case may be. You see what I'm trying to say? The way that you write, when I spoke about capitalise, to capitalise, we live in a capitalised system. Most people address themselves as the capital I. I'll just make this one point, right? But the man is, that's the I you should be using, okay? So you're announcing that you're a man on the document. The same way you can announce that you're a slave on the document, okay? I know we'll push for time anyway, so I'll hang around a bit if anyone wants to, but we'll sign off from that. Thank you very much for listening.
Go. Okay. Okay, thank you, Colin, so much. Very instructive and certainly gave me a bit of confidence, especially now that I'm withholding water charges.
Very much so.
Okay, guys, closing bits and pieces. At the back of the room, if you've got time and you want to withhold your water charges, it can be done. You can hold off the authority for many, many years, and the guidance is very comprehensive. So put your email address on a piece of paper if you want me to send you the guidance. We're also hoping that somebody here might, who hasn't already signed up, put their name down, email address down for the Westminster Against Fluoridation newsletter when I get my mail list sorted out. It'll be wonderful. Bally is hoping that everyone who doesn't want to drink poisoned water, which is what it is, will consider purchasing reverse osmosis filtration system. We're supporting a company called Via, which is in Lincolnshire. Lincolnshire is very much fluoridated, so it's a very appropriate place for that company to be. The company, the actual equipment is very, very good and very reliable. And yes, no, please put your name down if you want more information on the Via system. Thank you very much. It's this one here. You can get it on the internet. I'm also supporting it on the Westminster Against Fluoridation website. The page right at the bottom on the left-hand side called Water Filtration, which takes you into how to filter your water. And yeah, it's a really good idea because even if you can't get stuff out of your water initially, you can at least avoid being poisoned. And also at the back we've got some quantum science pendants for sale, which are there to prevent your body absorbing, we have them held up now, absorbing the microwaves. How much are they, darling?
£8.50.
£8.50 each.
They work. They actually work.
They won't work because, okay, fine, thanks for that. And finally, we've now got a wonderful new movement in Coventry called Incredible Edible. This is rather like allotmenteering with a vengeance. We don't have allotment societies as such because sometimes they can be a little bit sort of closed shop. This one is spreading yourselves around the whole of the city, where you can find pieces of ground which are being derelict and which are not going to be built on or anything, where you can negotiate a chance to go and grow your own organic vegetables and fruit. And the whole idea of Incredible Edible is for everybody to network, get together. There's such a thing as getting free seeds. They are cultivating wild places as well as derelict sites, and renting pieces of land. People are being educated, and the whole idea is sustainability with a big S. And it brings people together, and clearly it gives us food insurance, food security for the future, when we really are now up against Monsanto and corporations giving us pretty much rubbish in our diets. We also, if we have excess produce, those are sold and money is reinvested. And there is a website, Incredible Edible Coventry at gmail.com.
Oh, that's the email address.
Thank you.
Well, you can find it Incredible Edible Coventry at a Facebook page.
The Facebook page, Incredible Edible Coventry. Really good, because if you can't get onto an allotment site, and the waiting lists are huge, this is the next best thing to do. It's been supported by Brighton Gardens, and they can help you to get grants, and that means you'll be able to get security fencing around a piece of land to stop people getting on who will want to pinch all your produce and probably set fire to your greenhouses and things like that. And you can even actually
Grill garden where you actually just go and throw food into the panels in the town centres and stuff. And it is free food for everyone. You put food out and really more food.
yeah, as long as you don't put marijuana seeds in the flower beds, that's fine.
You're hiding them out in the woods.
Okay, guys, that's all I've got to say. Thank you so much for all coming. It's been a really successful first meeting. And Danny, do you know when the next one's likely to be?
We haven't scheduled a date yet.
All right, so we need to consider whether this sort of meeting is going to be popular enough to be once a week, once a fortnight, or once a month. And if you like this venue, then hopefully the landlord will let us come back. So thank you very much, everybody. And I think Bally has one more thing to say.
The room's
Okay.
for someone else now, so
Okay, we
you
have
guys
to
all
now.
to the blog side.
Yeah, okay. And we've got to clear all this.